Let me ask you a question. If you lost the biggest opportunity of your life, if someone knocked on your door, said no, chose someone else instead of you, what would you do? Most people get bitter. They complain. They say, I didn't deserve this. Kerry Packer did something different. He bought the entire house of those who wouldn't open the door for him, not metaphorically, literally. In 1977, the cricket world told him no. In 1979, that same world gave him a 10-year monopoly. And what I'm going to show you today is this. Rejection, if you play it right, can turn into the most profitable deal in history. It was 1976. Kerry Packer, one of Australia's most powerful media moguls, sat in his Sydney office with a thick folder on his desk. Inside were numbers, analyses, proposals. The subject, a broadcasting rights bid for the Australian Cricket Board. Packer had inherited a media empire from his father, Channel 9, magazines, radio stations. But Kerry wasn't content. He wanted to dominate. And cricket was the key. Cricket in Australia wasn't just a sport, it was a religion. Millions gathered every summer to watch test matches. And the broadcasting rights belonged to ABC, the government broadcaster. Packer saw an opportunity. ABC's broadcasts were outdated, boring, low quality. If Channel 9 could secure those rights, he could revolutionise cricket broadcasting. More cameras, better commentary, modern production, and massive advertising revenue. So he put together a generous proposal, significantly more money than ABC was paying. He submitted the bid and waited. The response came weeks later. Short, bureaucratic, final, rejected. The ACB didn't even negotiate. They simply said no. We prefer ABC. Tradition matters. We're not interested in commercial television. Now here's my question for you. What would you have done in that moment? Would you have moved on, tried to negotiate, accepted it, and walked away? Because most people would, but Kerry Packer wasn't most people. He was furious, not just disappointed, genuinely enraged. Who were these administrators to tell him no? They were sitting on a gold mine and too stupid to recognize it. But Packer's anger wasn't just emotion, it was fuel. And what he did next changed sports broadcasting forever. Packer sat in his office for days thinking. His executives expected him to move on, but he couldn't let it go. The more he thought about it, the clearer his path became. If they won't let me broadcast cricket, he thought, I'll create my own cricket. It sounded insane. Cricket had a 150-year establishment, international governing bodies, historic rivalries between nations. These were sacred traditions. You couldn't just create cricket, could you? Packer called a meeting with Richie Benaud, a former Australian cricket captain. He laid out his idea. Start a rival cricket league, sign the world's best players, create our own tournaments, cut out the establishment entirely. Benaud was sceptical. Kerry, you're talking about going to war with the entire cricket establishment. They'll fight you with everything they have. Packer smiled. Good. Let them fight. The plan needed three things: players, venues, and legitimacy. For players, Packer had a secret weapon: money. Professional cricket in the mid-1970s paid terribly. Even international players earned modest salaries. Many had second jobs. The cricket boards treated them as amateurs who should be grateful for representing their countries. Packer would change that. He'd offer contracts that paid players like professionals. Salaries 2, 3, sometimes 5 times what the boards paid. Guaranteed income, security for their families. Think about this for a second. If you were one of those players earning maybe $10,000 a year, working a second job and someone offered you 35,000 guaranteed plus bonuses, what would you do? The establishment called it betrayal. The players called it feeding their families. In late 1976, Packer's team began approaching players secretly, quietly, one by one. The recruitment campaign was unlike anything cricket had ever seen. Led by former England captain Tony Greig, they travelled the world making offers. The pitch was simple. You're being exploited. Your boards pay you nothing while making millions. We're offering financial security and respect, plus exciting cricket under better conditions. The first major signing was Tony Greig himself. As England captain, Greig's defection was a bombshell. The English establishment was apoplectic. Greig was stripped of the captaincy and labelled a traitor, but he didn't care. He'd secured his family's future, and he became Packer's most effective recruiter. Next came the Australians. Dennis Lillee, one of the greatest fast bowlers in history. Ian Chappell, Australia's captain. Rod Marsh, Greg Chappell, then the West Indies. Clive Lloyd, Viv Richards, Michael Holding, Andy Roberts, an entire generation of Caribbean superstars. The West Indies were the most dominant team of the era, and suddenly half their squad was under contract to Packer. By early 1977, Packer had signed over 50 of the world's best cricketers. The contracts were unprecedented. Players would earn $25,000 to $35,000 per year, plus bonuses, accommodations, travel for families. Professional sports on a scale cricket had never seen. The cricket establishment was in shock. How could this happen? Didn't these players understand loyalty, tradition, national pride? The players understood something else. They had bills to pay, families to support, limited playing years to maximise earnings. In May 1977, Packer held a press conference in Sydney. The room was packed. He announced World Series cricket. Starting that summer, WSC would stage matches between the best cricketers in the world. The cricket would be played under innovative new formats, and all of it would be broadcast on Channel 9. The reaction was immediate and hostile. The ACB denounced WSC as a circus. The International Cricket Conference called it illegitimate. Traditional fans said Packer was destroying the sport's heritage, but Packer had expected resistance. In fact, he was counting on it. Controversy creates attention. Attention creates viewership. Viewership creates advertising revenue. He also had something the traditionalists didn't understand: an instinct for entertainment. Traditional Test cricket had a problem. It was boring to casual viewers. Matches lasted 5 days, often ending in draws, played at a slow pace, in white uniforms on grass that all looked the same. Packer decided to reinvent the format. He introduced day-night cricket, games played under floodlights, starting in the evening when people finished work. Revolutionary at the time. Coloured uniforms instead of traditional white. Teams wore vibrant colours. Australia in gold and green, West Indies in pink. It made teams instantly identifiable and looked spectacular on colour television. One-day format instead of 5-day tests. Fast-paced games lasting 1 day, results guaranteed. Perfect for television. White cricket balls for day-night matches because the traditional red ball was invisible under lights. Aggressive marketing with promotions, music, entertainment during breaks. Cricket as spectacle, not just sport. Player personalities with close-up cameras. Interviews, profiles. Humanising the athletes, making viewers care about them as individuals. Now pause for a second. Imagine you're a cricket traditionalist in 1977. You've watched cricket your whole life. white uniforms, 5-day matches, quiet crowds, gentlemen's game. And suddenly this media tycoon introduces coloured pyjamas, rock music, night games, entertainment. Would you have embraced it, or would you have said, this isn't real cricket? Be honest. Because that's exactly what most people said. The traditional cricket world was horrified. This isn't cricket, they said. This is entertainment. This is commercial garbage. Packer's response, call it whatever you want. Just watch. The 1977 summer became a battlefield. 2 versions of cricket competed. Official Test cricket with traditional matches, and World Series cricket with Packer's revolutionary format. The cricket boards tried to crush WSC. The ACB and ICC banned any WSC player from official international cricket. Players had to choose. Play for Packer and end your national team career, or reject Packer and stay in official cricket. Most players stuck with Packer. The money was too good, the contracts too secure. The boards also tried legal action. They took Packer to court in England. After a lengthy trial, the judge ruled in Packer's favour. The bans were a legal restraint of trade. Players had the right to earn a living from cricket wherever they chose. It was a massive victory. But there was a problem. Attendance. The first WSC season drew modest crowds, not disasters, but not the packed stadiums Packer needed. Cricket fans were tribal. Many resented WSC as illegitimate, preferring real Test cricket even if the quality was lower. The media outside Packer's outlets was mostly hostile. Traditionalist commentators dismissed WSC as a gimmick. Financially, WSC was bleeding money. Millions in player salaries, stadium rentals, production costs. Advertising revenue was coming in, but not nearly enough. By mid-1978, some in Packer's organisation were nervous. How long could they sustain these losses? Here's where most entrepreneurs fail. They start strong, they have a vision. But when losses mount, when criticism intensifies, when success feels distant, they quit. They cut their losses. They say, maybe this wasn't meant to be. Would you have had the conviction to keep going, to lose millions more, to ignore the critics and trust your vision? Because that's exactly what Packer did. His answer was always the same. We're not backing down, we'll outlast them. He understood something crucial. The cricket boards were fighting a war of attrition they couldn't win. Official cricket without the top 50 players was mediocre cricket. Fans might tolerate it for a season or two out of loyalty, but not forever. Meanwhile, WSC was improving. The production quality was getting better. The day-night matches were spectacular entertainment. And critically, the second season was coming. The 1978 season was make or break. Packer invested even more heavily. Better marketing, more innovative formats, and something started to shift. Attendance improved noticeably. Younger fans embraced the excitement of day-night cricket. The coloured uniforms became iconic. Channel 9's broadcasts were miles ahead of ABC's coverage. Multiple cameras, replays, graphics, close-ups. It felt modern, dynamic. The advertising revenue began to increase. Major brands wanted to associate with this new exciting cricket. By mid-1979, the cricket boards faced a reality. Official cricket was suffering. Without the star players, attendance was declining. Television ratings were poor. Revenue was dropping. The players in official cricket were mediocre by comparison. Australia fielded essentially a second-string team. Meanwhile, WSC wasn't dying as predicted. It was adapting, growing, finding its audience. The ACB realised something terrifying. Packer could outlast them. He had deeper pockets. He controlled his own broadcasting platform. He had the best players locked into multi-year contracts. The boards had tradition, but tradition doesn't pay the bills. In mid-1979, quiet conversations began. ACB officials reached out to Packer's representatives, not officially, not publicly, just exploratory discussions. What would it take to end this war? The negotiations were delicate. Both sides had egos to manage, but the outlines of a deal emerged quickly because both sides wanted it. In May 1979, a settlement was announced. The details shocked the cricket world. Channel 9 received exclusive television rights to Australian cricket for 10 years. The very thing Packer wanted in 1976, now granted unconditionally. PBL Sports, Packer's company, received marketing and promotion rights. They would handle sponsorships, advertising, commercial deals. Many WSC innovations would be adopted into official cricket: day-night matches, coloured uniforms, white balls, aggressive marketing. All WSC players would be welcomed back with no penalties. And Packer received extremely favourable financial arrangements. It was a complete capitulation. They'd fought for 2 years, spent millions, damaged cricket's reputation, and ended up giving Packer everything he wanted, plus innovations they'd opposed. Why? Because the alternative was worse. Without a deal, WSC would continue, official cricket would continue declining, and eventually the entire structure might collapse. Packer had won through sheer determination and deeper pockets. He'd been willing to lose money longer than they could afford to fight him. Now let me break down the 3 lessons from this story. First, no is not an endpoint. It's an opportunity to create a new market. When the ACB rejected Packer's bid, most people would see a closed door. Packer saw evidence the system was broken. If the administrators wouldn't recognise the value of their product, if they preferred government subsidies to market rates, that wasn't strength, that was vulnerability. He realised, I don't need their permission. I can create my own cricket. When you're rejected, ask yourself this: is this because my offer is bad or because the system is broken? If it's the latter, you have an opportunity. Create an alternative, build something new, let the market decide. Rejected for a job? Maybe that company's hiring process is broken. Maybe you should start your own company competing directly with them. Can't get funding? Maybe traditional investors don't understand your market. Maybe you should bootstrap, prove the concept, and let them regret passing. Blocked by gatekeepers? Maybe those gates are obsolete. Maybe technology allows you to bypass them entirely. Second lesson: break the old rules and put the customer at the centre. Traditional cricket had rules that made no sense from an entertainment perspective. 5-day matches ending in draws. Played only during the day when people were at work, all white uniforms making teams indistinguishable. Slow pace optimised for players, not viewers. Why? Because that's how it had always been done. Packer asked a different question: what do viewers actually want? The answer was obvious once someone asked. Excitement, results, accessibility, stars they could identify, cricket they could watch after work, a product that respected their time. So he broke every rule that didn't serve viewers. 5-day matches, gone. 1-day games with guaranteed results, daytime only. Add floodlights, play at night. White uniforms. Use colours so teams have visual identity. Slow pace, speed it up, make every ball count. The traditionalists said he was destroying cricket, but viewers disagreed. They loved it. Customer centricity beats tradition every time. When you're building something new after rejection, you have freedom. You can ask, what would this look like if we designed it entirely around what customers actually want? Think about Netflix versus Blockbuster. Blockbuster's rules serve their business model, not customers. Netflix asked, what do viewers want? Convenience, no late fees, infinite selection. They redesigned everything around that. Packer did the same for cricket. The ACB's model served administrators and preserved tradition. Packer's model served viewers and maximised entertainment. Guess which one won? Third lesson, short-term losses can create long-term monopolies. World Series cricket lost money, significant money. Estimates suggest Packer lost 10 million Australian dollars over 2 years. For those 2 years, WSC wasn't profitable. It looked like a failing venture. Critics said he was throwing money away on ego, that he'd eventually admit defeat. They were wrong because they misunderstood what Packer was doing. He wasn't trying to make WSC profitable as a standalone league. He was trying to break the ACB's monopoly and position Channel 9 as the exclusive broadcaster. The WSC losses weren't waste. They were investment in negotiating position. Every month WSC continued, the ACB's position weakened. Their test cricket was mediocre. Their revenue was declining. Meanwhile, Packer's position strengthened. WSC was improving. The audience was growing. He knew eventually the mathematics would force a settlement. And when that settlement came, he'd negotiate from strength, which is exactly what happened. After 2 years of losses, Packer gained a 10-year exclusive deal worth far more than his WSC losses. But this strategy only works if you meet 3 conditions. First, you must have deeper pockets than your opponent. Packer could absorb losses. The ACB couldn't. Second, you must be correct that monopoly is achievable. Packer assessed that Australian cricket broadcasting would support a monopoly and be highly profitable once achieved. Third, you must have the conviction to sustain losses until you win. Many people start this strategy but abandon it when losses mount. Packer never wavered. He knew the end game and was committed. Kerry Packer was rejected in 1976. 2 years later, he owned Australian cricket broadcasting. He achieved it through strategic thinking after rejection. He saw that no meant the system was broken. He built an alternative designed around what customers wanted. He sustained strategic losses until his opponents surrendered. These lessons apply far beyond cricket. They're principles for how rejection can become opportunity if you respond correctly. Most people, when rejected, either give up or keep petitioning the gatekeepers. Sometimes that works. But sometimes when you're offering genuine value and the rejection stems from a broken system, the right response is different. Build an alternative. Compete directly. Change the rules. Serve customers so well that the establishment becomes irrelevant. It requires resources, conviction, strategic thinking, the ability to sustain losses while working toward a long-term win. But if you have those things, rejection isn't an endpoint, it's an opportunity. Kerry Packer proved that. Today, when you watch a T20 match under lights with players in colourful uniforms, with sophisticated broadcasting and enormous player salaries, you're watching Kerry Packer's legacy, built from rejection. So next time someone tells you no, ask yourself, is this my endpoint or my opportunity? Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been rejected for something you really wanted? A job, a business deal, an investment opportunity? And if you could go back, would you have done what Packer did and built your own alternative? Or would you have moved on? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one and I want to know what rejection taught you about opportunity.